Another is general awareness. That's where we have kind of a general idea of what's going on around us. Head up, eyes up, gun up, that's true. Head up, eyes up. Sorry. Law enforcement firearms instructor. Head up, eyes up, everything up. Hands up, attention up. Does that make sense? So if you're walking around doing this, are you aware of your surroundings? No. You know, when somebody walks up and says, what time is it? And you say, well, it's about, what's wrong with that? As opposed to, what time is it? Well, it's about, oh, head up, eyes up, everything up. Does that make sense? Because if I want to clock you upside your head, I'll ask you what time it is, and you'll go, and I'm going to rain one down on you. So we want to make sure we've got our eyes up, we know what's going on around us all the time. Can you hit that one? Here's the definition of general awareness, and that's not it. Would that qualify as general awareness? No. How long do you suppose that lasted? I don't know. I would say the shark is perfectly aware of him. I did it again. It's having an overall sense of your surroundings and what's happening in them. And sometimes if we don't, this is not a good thing, right? Okay, hit it again. This is a very common chart you'll find, and it's taught by a lot of firearms academies. If you go to Gun Sight, for example, in Nevada, or I'm sorry, in Arizona, or Front Sight out there in Pahrump, Nevada, or the Sig Sauer Academy, or Thunder Ranch, or any of those places, I've been to some of them, they all pretty much follow this type of approach, and it's a color-coded thing. And it deals with different levels of awareness. So the white level is what you're not aware of anything. That's it. You just kind of feel like the world is a safe place. And how often do you see people like that? If here's a little bit of, once you go through this today, here's a little bit of homework for you. Go to the mall and have a cup of coffee at the Starbucks or whatever, and sit and just watch people come in and out of the mall. And try to pick the people who are aware and the ones who aren't. And then try to identify the different kinds of people. Okay? There are sheep and wolves, right? So try to figure out if you can figure out who are the sheep and who are the wolves out there. And who are the people who are just aware of their surroundings. I call them porcupines because they don't want any trouble, but don't mess with them, you'll get stuck. Okay? So this is kind of the white area up here. This is this guy. This is this guy. This is this guy. This is the young lady who's dressed in a way that's getting attention that she probably really doesn't want in the long run, but she doesn't realize it. She's got headphones on and she's jogging through the park at the wrong time of day. That's all this stuff. And white is fine when you're home and your doors are locked. You know what I mean? And you're watching a movie and you're enjoying yourself and you know that the house is secure. But really, most of the time we probably shouldn't be in white. We should probably be in yellow where we're just aware of our surroundings. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean we're paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I know they're out to get me. No, I'm kidding. We don't want to be paranoid. We just want to be aware of what's happening around us. Anybody ever been to a kids track meet? Anybody? Now, a track meet for kids starts way early and goes all day because basically you sit and wait for 2 or 3 hours for your child to compete for 15 seconds, and then you wait for another 2 or 3 hours for them to do it again because their events are stretched out. It's not like basketball. My son played basketball, my daughter ran track. Basketball, you show up for the game, it's exciting for 45 minutes and you're done pretty much. Track, you get there at 7 and you're there till 5. Bring a book and lunch and like. Amazingly, been 2 or 3 years, well, it's been about 4 years ago, one of my daughter's track meets, she was all done, all of her events were in the morning, and she was done by 11 o'clock. I was amazed. Now, it was at a school in a very rough neighborhood, because, we went around from school to school to school, and when we got there, we were a little bit behind, so I had to park down the street about a quarter of a mile, through maybe not quite half a mile, and at 11 o'clock, I said to my wife and my daughter, I said, why don't we go get an ice cream? It's hot. It was hot summer day. Let's go get an ice cream and go to the movies. We can sit in the air conditioning. And of course, my daughter thought that was a really good idea. So I said, well, pack up the stuff and I'll go get the car. And I grabbed my camera bag, which unfortunately said Nikon on it. I now have a new camera bag, doesn't say anything. Threw it over my shoulder. It's about 11:20, and I'm walking down 45th Street in San Diego to go to my car. Combine this, a little, training and pay attention, something's wrong. And out of the corner of my eye, I caught a guy coming, somehow I caught him coming out of one of the apartment buildings, and there was just something that wasn't right. I didn't know what wasn't right. I just barely saw him, but I knew something wasn't right. So when I got up to the next little tree, and in between two cars, I stepped around the tree. Now, what he didn't know, although I was wearing cargo shorts and sneakers and a t-shirt, is I had my little snubby revolver in my pocket. And when I stepped around the tree, he was coming up behind me with a knife. At 11:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. Who'd have thunk it? Seriously? So I drew a gun. And he stopped. It was like a poker game. I see your knife, and I'll raise you a gun. And I didn't point the gun at him. I just stood there and went, it's your turn. What are we doing now? He fortunately thought about it for a minute, folded up the knife, and did a Houdini into the parking lot, or into the apartment complex. Nobody ever found him. But if I had not been here, if I'd been here, if I had not been here, not only paying attention to my surroundings, but also listening to God when he says, hey, there's something wrong, turn around, at minimum, I'd have lost my camera. I could quite possibly have lost my life. So this is a good place to be, right? It's not paranoia, it's just being aware. And now we're not in yellow anymore. Because now something we've seen has really gotten our attention. Okay, that's not right. That's odd. And we're still aware of our surroundings, but now we're going to focus a little bit on that. We're going to be on the radio going, hey, this is going on over here. Can you get a camera on that? Or whatever. Does that make sense? Let's take a look at that guy, because that's just a little odd. We don't know if it's a threat yet, but it's odd behavior. Okay? Let me see the other one. It's just the guy's he's about a half a bubble off plum, okay? Now, once you've figured out that this is a real threat, you've gone from orange to what? Red. And I keep typing, follow your policies and procedures, communicate, contact 911, take action, whatever it is. I don't know what the policies and procedures are. That's a Tiffany thing, so I can't explain to you what you should be doing. But obviously, if there's a real threat, there's some stuff that you need to be doing. Whether it's one of these that goes pop, go ahead, or it's a person who's just disruptive. Now, that's, we're going to treat this different than this, right? Okay, or it's this guy, or somebody that shows up with a weapon. He's just either weird with a weapon, or he's not so weird looking with a weapon, but somebody shows up with a weapon of some sort, that's a whole different conversation. So we approach these things differently depending on what they are, and again, that's a training and policies and procedures issue that I can't get into because I don't know what they are, okay? But once you're in this zone, this is where action needs to be taken now, because if you don't take it now you're going to be in the next zone. Go ahead. Now you're in this zone where you're fighting for your life, or you're actively, you're hands-on with somebody, or bullets are flying, or whatever. That's what this is. And to the greatest possible degree, that is something we should avoid. And the best way we can avoid it is by being in yellow. If we're in yellow and we catch things early, when we're in orange, we will hardly ever get to black. But obviously, if we're there, then you got to take whatever action is necessary. Whatever you need to do to preserve your life and the lives of others, that's what you need to do. Amen? And that's where it gets really, really difficult, because now you're in a situation where you might end up taking the life of another human being. And that's pretty tragic. And that's an individual decision we each get to make. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's pepper spray, right? Sometimes it's hands-on. Sometimes we're calling PD. We're having this conversation with this person, and he's getting pretty volatile, and we need to have PD or the sheriff's deputy. Hey, Dep, I got one over here for you. Come out and address it. You with me? But it could easily get worse really, really fast. So let's go back to the chart again. I kind of explained each one, but I want you to see that they're grouped. So what? You got the top three, go ahead, and those are your general awareness ones. Those are your general awareness ones. That's when you're not aware at all, or you're aware of your surroundings and nothing's going on, but you're not paranoid, you're just aware of your surroundings, or now because you were here, the bump in the night happened, or somebody's acting weird and now you're over here, and you're keeping an eye on it. You're still here for everything else, but you're really focused on that to figure out, is that a real threat? Or is that just somebody that's acting a little odd? Does that make sense? Okay. Guy's going like this all the time. Like this all the time. What's he carrying? Maybe because he doesn't have a good gun belt, or he doesn't have it cinched up tight enough. So the gun keeps falling down, and maybe he's carrying a gun. Okay, is that it? Maybe he's got a concealed carry permit. Maybe he's an off-duty cop. Maybe he's a retired cop. Maybe he's not carrying a gun. Maybe he's just got a big pager or something, if anybody has a pager anymore. I don't know. Maybe he wore the wrong pants and he's lost 30 pounds and he forgot to put a tighter belt. It could be nothing. But is it going to get your attention? Oh, yeah. Okay. But until we discover this is what he's got, or, this guy's a bad guy or something, we don't know. But this is just going to get our attention. All right, and then you have the other two. These get into situational awareness. And the big difference is, we didn't have a situation before. We were just aware. Now we have a situation. It's either developed into a situation we need to address, or we're in the middle of a fight addressing it. Does that make sense? And that's how those break out. And I've given you a couple of rules here. Head up, eyes up, everything up. You got a gun in your hand, head up, eyes up, gun up. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been teaching people how to shoot for too long, I suppose. But head up is really important. Eyes up is really important because that's where you're going to be aware of stuff. If you get down in here, or you're getting, you're going to catch yourself. For example, I showed you that chart. You're going to be, I'm in yellow. And then 3 minutes are going to go by and you're going to go, oh man, I was in white for 3 minutes. What's wrong with me? And that's going to happen to you. It happens to me all the time. It'll happen to you when you do this, and you go, oh, that instructor said head up, eyes up. Okay, and you'll get better at it over time. Situational awareness is not general awareness. It's a heightened awareness of danger you see in front of you and potential danger you see around you. One of the other courses I've taught here is on contact and cover, because if you're dealing with it, you got to have a cover officer, somebody back here, kind of being aware of your surroundings so that you don't have this guy's friend, partner, brother, homie, whatever, come up behind you and conk you on your head. Because we can get kind of tunnel vision when we're focused on things, can't we? We've got to maintain situational awareness. Well, one way to do that is to keep your head up, eyes up. Common thing is keep your head on a swivel. What am I talking about? Well, I want to make sure that I'm also aware of my surroundings if I'm here by myself. I'm talking to you, but I'm kind of turning my head a little bit once in a while so I can make sure that I don't have somebody coming up on my side or coming up behind me.